can hear me, you can just use the emoji. All right, fine. That's very fine. So in our last class, we did CSS and Git. Right, I'll be sharing my screen now. We did CSS and Git, right? And I said we'll be moving to JavaScript today. However, there are still one or two things we need to touch in CSS, just a little. So I'll be spending about 10 minutes on that. Then we'll be moving to JavaScript. Confirm you can see my screen, please. Can everyone see my screen? All right. So in our previous class, this is our project, our HTML5. In our previous class, what we did was adding our CSS code to the same place we have this HTML code, right? So I want to teach us two other ways we can add styling to our elements. We can add styling to our element. Okay. So yes, what I want to do now is to grab all my CSS code, everything here inside this type tag. I'm going to cut it out. Yes, up to this place before the closing tag. Right, my style is now empty, so everything is still the skeleton. So what I'm going to do is to create a CSS file, which should be style.css, and I'll paste my CSS code inside this file. Right, and then I'll come to my index.html. I'll add another element here, which will be the link element. I want to link the CSS file, and then the relationship will be style sheet, if I'm correct. Style sheets, and then the href should be style.css. Style.css. Yes, so we now have our CSS in a separate file, apart from where we have our HTML, and everything still works. Right, so I can remove this style element. Everything still works. And then if I come to, so what I did here is the external CSS. So we are getting our CSS attributes from an external file, right? And then the other pattern I'll be showing you now is the inline CSS, whereby your CSS code will be inline, the same line with your HTML element. So how I'll do that is, let me come to this H1. This guy, I can now add a style attribute. And then I can say, let me just say the background color. Background color should be, let's say black. Yes, and I can say my color, that should be my default color, should be white. Yes. So the CSS, the external CSS is working for this element, and again the inline CSS is working for it. So what is happening is that the CSS is applying according to their position in the DOM, right? When this HTML file is rendering, it is coming from the top here to the bottom here, right? And it is applying every line of code it is saying to the element, to the HTML page, right? So inside this style, you will see that this guy has some classes. It has big header, padding, margin, sizing, border, rounded border, right? All these attributes are what gave us this previous guy. If I remove this class, let me just do something. So if I remove this class, this style rather, if I remove this style and then come back here, I should see my, sorry, please hold on. All right, so I've removed the style and I'm saying the previous header one we had, right? So what is happening is that it is applying the style inside this guy first. Inside this styles.css, that's the external CSS file. It is applying it first because it is seeing the instructions first. And then if I now add back my style attribute here, it means it will override the one above it, which is this guy, this external linking. It means you want this style here to override the one inside this external linking, right? So let's say there's something inside this style that we don't want this inline CSS to override. We can come here, we can come to our style, and let me see one of the classes. Something background color, that should be big header. All right, so if I come to my big header class, yes, this is where we added the background color, this background color. So what I can do is to put the important command here, important. So this will make the HTML know that, HTML element know that, okay, I want this style to apply to every element that has this class and should not be override by any other CSS code because it is important. So if I save this, I have my styling back, which means the background color in my inline CSS cannot override the one in my external CSS. I hope we are still connected. Can everyone still hear me? Okay, some moments, please. Okay, so we've done the external linking, that's the external CSS. And then we've done the inline CSS. So the previous method we used last week was the internal CSS. Internal CSS where we are using the style tag. So let me create a new file here and give us the linking types. We have external CSS. It's a case where we create an external CSS file. It's a case where we create an external CSS file and link it to our HTML. So our HTML head with the link tag. It's a case where we create an external CSS file and link it to our HTML head with the link tag. This is what we have here. And then the internal CSS, it's a case where we use the style elements. the style element in the HTML head to assign our CSS attributes or our styling to apply our styling. And then the inline CSS, it's a case where we use the style attributes in an HTML element to apply some styles to a particular element. So I'll save this file. I'll save this file. Let me just create info.readme. Let me just create readme.md. So I'll put this thing I wrote inside the readme file. So when you go to the GitHub, you see it there. I think if I close these guys like this, I should. All right, so this is the description. An external CSS. Can everyone still hear me? All right. An external CSS file, an external CSS linking is a case whereby we create an external CSS file and link it to our HTML head tag. So the reason I did this way is that the head tag is inside the HTML tag. So we'll link it to the link tag, and on the link tag we have the relationship attributes and the href attributes. Relationship will tell the HTML, this file we are linking, this is the relationship you guys are having. It is your style sheet. And then the href will tell the file, okay, you can find this CSS file in so places. So if I do something, if I create a new folder in our project and I say CSS, then I move my CSS file inside the CSS folder. Then I come here and reload. You can see my styling are already breaking apart from the inline styling, which is this one. Where is it? Which is this one? Yes. So my styling is already breaking apart from the inline styling that we added to the HTML element, right? And the reason it is breaking is because this style.css is no longer in this location. It is no longer in the same location where we have this index.html. It is now inside the CSS folder, right? So what am I supposed to do? What I'm supposed to do is to indicate that, okay, you can find this style inside CSS /style.css. So the CSS here is the folder, and then the style.css is the file name. So coming here, you can see it is already applied. All right, so that is okay. Let me just apply one internal styling here. Let me apply one internal styling here. Okay. We have a button here. Let's just apply it to the button. And then let's change the background color. Yes, let's change the background color to something around. This thing doesn't seem like it's working. To something around blue. Okay. So I'll start elements again. Sorry, my ID is saying this thing as a Django and template. So let me change it to HTML. Yes. So if I come here and say I want to add a start tag, and then I should apply this tag to buttons. I want to change the background color to something around this blue. Is it changing? I think it is changing. Let's use cyan. Okay, so let's change it back to blue. All right, so that is everything we'll be doing on CSS. Like I've been saying, this is not a front-end class. It is a back-end class. So we are just touching the basics. Okay. Am I going too fast? Does anyone have any question yet? Is anyone lost? Okay, Mr. Samuel is not here yet. Does anyone have any question yet?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I had issues with my network. Yeah, I think we should can continue the session, but please confirm if you can hear us. Can you please confirm? Okay, so please let's continue the session. They would have question and answer. Then we also go back to the session. Like session and answer in between. So let's say we have the lecture for like a couple of minutes, then question and answer, then continue. Then at the end, we do the summary. Does that work fine for you?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Yes. So let's continue the session. I believe everyone is taking notes, and we're going to. You must ask questions. Yes, because a lot is we're learning, so we must definitely ask questions. And if you don't understand, just ask questions. That's just it. Yes, please continue the session.
All right, so we'll be moving to JavaScript, which is why we are here, which is the primary reason we are here, JavaScript for front-end and back-end. So what is JavaScript? JavaScript is a scripting language. It is a programming language, and yes, it's a scripting language. And it is primarily built to work with browsers. It is primarily built to run on browsers. Can everyone hear me? Okay, so the primary purpose of building JavaScript, as at when he built it, was to make web pages interactive. So it runs on browser and it makes web pages interactive. So what JavaScript will do for you is that when I click on this button, it can do something like maybe hide this guy or change the shape of this image or do any other thing. That's making this page interactive. As of now, what we have on this page is the HTML and the CSS, which is the skeleton and the styling. And then if you want it to be responsive, let's say we have a building, right? You've done the painting.
Your mic is muted. Okay, so it's probably a network glitch or something. So let's just hold for a couple of minutes till he joins back. So I guess today, yes, as he has said, we'll be moving into the back end. So what we've done so far, or what we've learned so far, is a basic understanding of summary of front end, because like you said, you need to understand the front end to be able to work on the back end. Okay. They welcome back, and I think yeah we lost you for a couple of seconds. Yes, can you please confirm if you can hear us?
All right, thank you so much. Brian. That was a technical issue with my audio.
Hello? Yes, can you please confirm if you can hear me?
I can hear you. Can hear you.
Okay. Okay. Yes, you can hear. So we can continue the session. Why when you left, I was just giving a brief summary of like okay what we've learned so far, and the next part we are going into. I mean like JavaScript, like you said, which is a scripting language, a server-side scripting language, and can also be used for front end, like you have stated. So everybody, let's take notes. This is like back end introduction to back end. So for me, I'm pumped, and I'm ready to learn. I believe we are all ready to learn as well. So they have the floor.
All right. So I was giving us a brief introduction to JavaScript. So I was saying that JavaScript was primarily built to run on browsers. Let me share my screen. Yes, let me share my screen. Okay, Mr. Samuel, someone is raising their hand. Do we want to address that now?
Okay. Please, we would come to a time where we have question and answer, but since this is in between moving to backend fully, let's just allow you to ask your question. So please unmute your mic and ask your question. You can unmute your mic and ask questions.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry about that. I think I was struggling with network.
Oh.
So I was saying that I just joined this class from the WordPress class, and where do I start from? Because I currently don't understand what Mr. AY is working on. So I'm a bit confused. If you can shed clarity to what I need to do.
Okay, so if I may get you correctly, you say this is your first class.
Yes, yes.
Okay. For so far I would not be able to explain in detail everything we've done, but I would refer you to our previous sessions which we've had. I believe you've subscribed to the our YouTube channel, Dive Africa. Can you confirm if you've done that?
Not yet.
Okay, I'll drop the link in the chat. So, after the class, if currently on this class, I would advise you take notes, and so you follow through. So, but after the class, you should please see the previous recordings, which is posted on our YouTube. So, with that, we'll be able to follow up and catch up on what we've done so far. Yeah. So, I am there. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Mr. Samuel, for that. So like I was saying, I'll just continue what I was saying. So like I was saying, JavaScript was built primarily to work on browsers, right? Through the help of JavaScript engines.
V8.
So it is the JavaScript engines that will run the JavaScript code on the browsers. And Firefox JavaScript engine is SpiderMonkey. Spider Monkey, and Chrome's JavaScript engine is V8. So these two guys, this Spider Monkey is what allows your browser to run, your Firefox browser to run JavaScript code. And then this V8 is what allows our Chrome, this Chrome we are using, to run JavaScript code. So sometimes around 2009, one of our engineers, I've forgotten his name, he took the open source code for the V8, which is the JavaScript engine for Chrome. He took the source code and embedded it in a C++ program, right, and called it Node.js. So what Node.js does is that it allows you to run JavaScript code outside the browser, right? It allows you to run JavaScript code outside the browser. And now this Node.js is what we use to run JavaScript on the backend. That's on the server side. So let me explain again. JavaScript was primarily built to run on browsers, right? And if we are to talk about backend, the backend doesn't run on the browser; it runs on the server, right? It was primarily built to run on a browser with the help of JavaScript engines. Like I said, the JavaScript engine for Firefox is Spider Monkey, and the JavaScript engine for Chrome is V8. So sometimes in 2009, one of the engineers that we know, he took the V8 source code, it is open source. He took it and embedded it in a C++ program. C++ is a programming language. It's a different programming language entirely. So he embedded the V8 in a C++ program that allows us to run JavaScript outside the browser environment, which means we can run it somewhere else. We can run it in an Ubuntu server, in a Linux server. Yeah, Linux and Ubuntu are the same thing. On a Mac OS and on a Windows OS with the help of this program, which is called Node.js. And that is why people now use Node.js and that is why people can now use JavaScript and Node.js for their backend. So today we'll be doing the basic we can do on JavaScript on the front end. So let's go to our code. And then let's add, if we want to add JavaScript code to our code, we'll come to the bottom of the page. We can put it anywhere in the code, but it is always advisable to put it at the bottom of the page. So let's come here and say we want to add our script. So the first thing I want to do in this script is to do console.log. What will this do? It will log whatever we put here, in the console. And where is our console? It is in our browser. If I inspect this page, right click and go to inspect. I have this inspect this. Just do this. All right, I have my page here, and I have the inspect tool here. Sorry. All right, so if I come to console, this is console here. If I come to console, I'll see everything that is being logged in my console. I'll see it here. So if I come to my code, I'll say, okay, this should log to the console, hello world. After saving this, it is even already showing hello world. If I reload this page, the moment it's finished loading, like I said, the code runs from the top to the bottom. So the moment it gets here, it will log this to the console, which is hello world. I believe we are still connected. Or let's say I'm saying I don't want to log to console. I want to give an alert, right? I want to give an alert of welcome to this backend bootcamp. And then you can see it is already showing me that welcome to this backend bootcamp. Let me reload it again. Welcome to this backend bootcamp. So that is JavaScript. JavaScript will help us make our front-end page interactive. That's what JavaScript will do for you on the front end. So let's dive into writing some basic JavaScript codes. So the first thing I want us to know is how to declare variables. And what are variables? Variables are like I don't want to call them container, but that seems to be the right word to use. Are like containers where we store data temporarily during our runtime. So what do I want to do? I want to create a new variable. And how do we create a variable? You can say variable using the var command, variable name. No, let me see age. Variable age is 12, right? Let me comment out this alert and then I'll comment this hello, this console.log, and then I want to come here and log. I want to come here and log the age is let's just log the age, console.log age, right? So if I come here, you can see we're already having our age, which is 12. If you check this thing very well, we have variable age is 12, which means this 12 is the value that we are holding in this variable. And why do we need this variable? Because we can need it, we can use it more than once. Let me do something again. I can say, okay, yes, I can say this should be age 1, right? And I can say another variable should be age 2, which should be 20, right? Then I can say variable sum should be age 1 plus age 2. So this will do what? It will calculate the sum of age 1 and age 2. And then I want to, sorry, please. All right. So, and then I want to log the sum of the ages. This is age 1 and age 2. I want to log the sum in my console. So what do? I do console.log sum. So if I come here, I should be seeing 32, which is my age 1 and age 2. That's 12 plus 20, and that's 30. That's 32. One other way we can declare a variable is to say const, which means constant name. Constant name is what Ayomide, right? And I can come here and say, let me just comment out this one, bring this one somewhere close, bring this one here, so it won't be confusing when it comes to this code base, right? So yes, let me bring this one here to console.log sum, and I'll comment it out because we don't need it now. So I want to log my name to the console. So I'll say console.log name. You can see my name here is Ayomide. So what is the difference between this variable and constant? When you declare a variable with a constant keyword, it means this variable, the value of this variable cannot change. It is constant. So if I come here and say name is let's say Michael, right? And then I come back here, you can see I'm already getting an error. And let's see what the error is saying. It's saying type error, assignment to constant variable, which means this variable, and let's check something. It is telling us that this error is happening at index.html line 109. It is happening at index.html line 109. Sorry, please. All right. So if we check our index.html line 109, you can see we are trying to override this variable, which is a constant variable. So if we want to really override it, we have to change this to either variable, and we can see we are no longer having, we are no longer getting this error. So constants are used to define constant values, and you can't override, you can't change the content of that constant because it is going to be constant. You can't change the content of that constant again in your runtime. So let's change this part to constant, and then let's remove this, and our code should still work. Let me just add my name here, because why not? Yeah. Okay, so one other way we can declare a variable in JavaScript is to say let language, let is online be equals to false. And then let me just say console.log is online. You can see I'm already having false here. And if I change this to true, I'm already having true. A moment use.
Okay, are we following?
All right. Are we still connected? Just use the emoji. Confirm there with me. Just use the emoji. I guess only Daniel. Okay. Mr. Samuel, who is our class rep again? Mr. Samuel. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, somewhere is fine. Olasukomi and Lindway, but I don't think Olasukomi is on the call, and he did not reach out to me. But regarding the reason why he's not in the meeting, however, Lindway is our assistant rep, so and she's on the call as well.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. So these are the the basic three ways we can set a variable in JavaScript. We have the var, which is a keyword for variable. We have the const, which is a keyword for constant, and we have let. So let is online to let is online be true or false. And then we'll be moving from variable to data types. Data types, right? We have a couple of data types in JavaScript. And I'll start with the ones we already used as examples. The ones we already used as examples. The first one here is an integer or a number. Okay, let's say number. The first one here is a number. They are numbers. Let me comment this out. This is a number, right? 12 is a number, 20 is a number. So we can do calculation with numbers. So this will do 12 plus. You can see this plus sign here. 12 plus 20, which is our age 2. And this is number data type. Number data type. Right. And this one here is a string. anything you want to, anywhere you want to use a text like this, it is a string data type, right? And every time you want to declare a new string, you have to put it in what do we call these guys? In apostrophes. You have to put it in apostrophes. There are sequence of texts. You can use the normal ABCD and add numbers to it. You can have special characters like full stop, any other special character. So this is a string, right? And then the other one we use there is a boolean. It's a boolean. Some people call it boolean, but I prefer to call it boolean. Boolean data type. So it is always true or false. Right? It is always true, false. I hope I'm communicating. And then the next data type we'll be handling here will be an array. You can say constant students. Will be an array. And how do you declare an array? You use these two guys. If you want to declare an array, you use them. The opening one and the closing one. And then the contents of your array will be inside this place. Let me just increase this. It will be inside here. Let's say I want to say Daniel. Let's just say Daniel. And then for array, you use comma to separate them. Daniel, comma. I have Fentola here. Fentola, yes. So if you see your name here, that means you attended this class today. We have Adelu. We have Mr. Johnson. We have Basi. We have Lin. Okay, let me just write that. Basi. And you will write out to it. Oh, yes. And then I think that's all. Okay, I think I have Abraham. Okay. All right. So an array is a data type that can hold more than one data. So it is always like a list of data. A list of data. Let me say array data type. List of data. List of data. So it is always taking a list, and then let's say console.log students. So the log students. You can see we already have our array here, and this 7 we are seeing here is telling us that we have 7. Very good. This 7 we are seeing here is telling us that we have 7 names or 7 items in this list. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. And then for an array in all programming languages, not just JavaScript, in all programming languages, their index is always starting from 0 and not 1. It's always starting from 0. And that is why we have the last one here, which is supposed to be 7. To normal human being, it is supposed to be 7. But to programmers, it is 6 because it is starting from 0. So if I want to access this first name here, what I'll do is to say console.log. Let me comment this out. I say console.log students. I'm trying to access the first thing in the array. Then I'll put this my guy, and then I'll put the index. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then if I'm saying 0, that means I want to access this Daniel. So coming here, we can see we already have Daniel. Let's say I'm trying to access the third one, which is 1, 2, 3. I'll use the index, which is 0, 1, 2. And then if I come here and say 2, I should have a delete. And then if I come here and say, if I say 7, because I think I have 7 items here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I say 7, I should have an error. Okay, it is giving me undefined. Why? Because we didn't define the 7th item. Like I said, indexes in programming is starting from 0 and not 1. So if we want to access the last thing here, which is the 6th index, we are going to use 6 here. And we have Abraham. Okay. So that's the basic thing we'll be doing with data types as of now, so as not to bore us with what we are doing here. So our script, our HTML file is getting too messed up. It's getting too rough. So what we are going to do is to say we are going to create a new folder and say scripts, or let's say JS. Yes, JS. Just like we did for JavaScript, we say our script.js. Please note that you can use any name to save your JavaScript file, not necessarily script, but it has to have the .js extension. So that is what we tell you your operating system, either your browser or your server, that this is a JavaScript file and it should be handled as a JavaScript file, right? So we are saving this as scripts.js. So what we are going to do is to bring all these scripts that we've written here. I'm going to cut it now and then come here and paste it. Now we have our JavaScript file here. So how are we going to import this? I'm going to say script. I'll be using the script tag. Then I can use self-closing for it here, since I'm not adding children to it. And then how do I specify that the script you want to use is in so places? I'll use the source attributes. And where is our JavaScript file? It is inside the JS folder, right? And then inside the scripts.js. That is where we have our JavaScript file. Yes. So if I come here now and let me just comment this alert, and then come back and load, you can see we are seeing our alert. At the end of this page, after the page has loaded, we are seeing our alert. So let me do something. Let me try bringing this script tag to the top. To the top of my body tag, you can see okay, let me just bring it back. You can see the script is running before our HTML is loading. So yes, we now have the script running, the alert showing after we've gotten our HTML and CSS code. Does anyone have any question as of now? Okay, Daniel, you want to add something?
Good evening, all.
Yes, good evening.
Okay, please, I want to know, is there any specific instance where we are to use let or const? What I know it's like introduction, but are we still going to go through that later in the class?
Yes, we'll be using that more often. We'll be using constant more often, and then we use let in a case where we know that we still want to change the value of this variable. Are you getting me? So in a case where you know that you still want to change the value, maybe you are logging something and you want, you know that at the, if you set the value to be maybe ABC, you know that at the end of this script, you want to change it to XYZ, then you use let. However, if you know that you are not changing it, it is still the same ABC that is there, that will still be there to the end of the program, then you use const, which means constant. It will remain constant till the end of the program. All right, so I want to take us on conditional statements in JavaScript. Conditional statements in JavaScript. And what are the conditional statements we have? We have, let me come here. JavaScript. Conditional statements. Conditional statements. All right, so what are the conditional statements we have? We have if else. We have if else, and we have if else, sorry, if else, and we have switch case. Switch case. So we'll be doing if else first, and just like it sounds, it is if else. So if something is happening, do this, and else if it is not happening, do that. So let's dive into our JavaScript file, and then so what I can do here is that so let's do something. Let's say let's put a console.log here. We've commented out everything we have here, but let's just put a console.log here and say script.js loaded. So whenever we come here, come to our console and reload, we see that our script.js are successfully loaded. So this thing you are seeing in the console is being added here on script.js line 24. And if we come here, we can see we have line 24 here. So what do I want to do now? I want to create a new file and say conditional statement, statement.js. So we'll be doing our conditional statements inside this file. And what do I want to do? I want to link it to my HTML element. So to my HTML file. So I'll add another script tag here. Just start afresh. Another script tag, and then add the source. We can see this file inside the JS file, inside the JS tag. And this is not script.js, it is conditional statements.js. All right, so let's reload again. We have script.js loaded. So let me come to this script.js and bring this to the top. Yes, we are still good. And then I want to come here and say console.log. What should we put here? Someone should suggest that. You can just add it to the chat box. Okay, so let's just add conditional statements loaded. Conditional statements.js loaded. So if I come here, if I come back to our HTML page and reload, okay, this thing doesn't seem to be working. Let's come back to this close. It appears our JavaScript file is not loading. Sorry, please hold on, please. Let me inspect what the issue is. So our scripts.js is loading, our conditional statements.js is not loading. So what would be the issue? Let me just so let me terminate this live server and then restart it. Okay, our scripts, let me bring this to the report. Okay, the first one is loading, the second one is not loading. Let's see, all down now. Okay, before the end of this class, we should get that fixed. In the meantime, let's bring it down here, and then we'll continue with what we are doing. So our conditional statements.js is now loading. Our conditional statements.js is now loading. So what do we want to do? We want to say, we want to create a variable and say constant should log to be, we want to make it true, right? And then we want to use our if statement. We want to use our if statement. And how do we do that? We'll say if, you can see my browser my IDE is already suggesting for me. So I can say, is it if statement or is it if else statement? So I can say if statement, and on this bracket, it will accept the condition. So if that condition is true, it will run the code in this block. And then if it is not true, which is else. So if this happens, run this code. And if it is not valid, if this condition is not true, run this code. That is why we have else. So let's say should log. If should log, it should do what? It should log to the console.log, logging something, right? And then if it is not log, you want to log again. Okay, let's just log an error, console.error. Logging is disabled. Right. So if I come to my scripts, reload, you can see we are logging something. Why? Because this condition is true. Are you getting me? This condition is true. And then if I change this to false, if I change this to false and I reload, I can see this is now an error. It is showing me this red background that this is an error on conditional statement line 8. I hope I'm communicating with someone. So in programming, you won't be doing false and true like this. You won't be coding it like this. It will always depend on the condition. And what condition? Let me give you an instance of a condition. Let's say my name, as a constant full name, is Ayomide Michael, right? And then what should my condition be? Should log should be full name dot contains or dot includes. Yes, full name dot includes Ayomide. Yes, this means if you can find Ayomide inside full name, that means this will be true, right? And if it is not there, that means this will be false. So if I come here and reload, I can see login something. Let me just change this login something to yes, it's found. So yes, it is found. This means it can find IMD inside this full name. However, if I change this IMD to Daniel, this should be giving me false because Daniel is not here. And then if I reload, I have login is disabled, which we have here. I hope I'm communicating with someone. So this is an if-else statement, and sometimes you may only want to do something if the condition is true, and if it is not true, you don't want to do anything. So what do? We remove our else statements, right? And then we do this. So if it is true, it will log this, and since we don't have else statements, it won't do any other thing if the condition is false. So let's return back to IMD. Instead of that, let's just say Daniel. So we can see yes, it is found. But if you remove Daniel from here, it means it won't see it and it won't do any other thing, right? So let's do something. Let's say we want to check for more than one thing. We want to check for more than one thing. Let me just copy this and paste. So should log, let me just change this to, I don't want to put this in a variable, I want to put it directly. I want to say if full name dot includes Michael, I can say name is valid. And then if I come here, I can see name is valid. So I don't only want to check for Michael, I want to check for Ayomide too. So what I'll do here is I'll say full name dot includes Michael, or, and how do we do or? We use this guy, this I've forgotten the name, this character. So you see it. This character, it is always beside your curly braces at the right side of your keyboard, just under the delete button or the backspace. That's where you find it. So if you press shift plus that key, it should give you this. So you're using it twice. So I'll say full name dot includes IMD, or full name dot includes or David. So if any of this condition is true, you should run this. So let me come back here and see name is valid, right? Let me comment this out. Come back here, we should see name is valid. So let me remove Ayomide from, so let me remove Michael from here and change it to Joseph. Right? And then if I come here, I shouldn't see anything because you don't have the else statement. Are you getting it? This condition is not true, and this one too is not true. That is why we're not saying anything. This is an if or and this is an or statement, which means one of these has to be true before you'll be able to run this block of code. So what do I want to do? I want to just add David here. David. So to either find Michael or David. Are you getting me? All right, so this is all. We can use and to. We can use and, let's say, or condition. Right, this one is all condition. And then we can use and condition, which means both condition has to be true. Let's say if full name that includes Michael, and this is how you do and full name that includes what other name is there? David. You can say console.log full name as both Michael and David, right? So if I come here and reload, I should see, okay, I don't have Michael here, so let me just add Michael here. So if I come here, I should see full name as both Michael and David. You can see here, let me just change this to Geo. So if I come here and reload, you can see because it is only saying David, it is not saying Michael. It is only saying David, it is not saying Michael. This condition is not true. Why? Because we are using the AND operator, and this is the operator. That is the AND operator. That means both condition has to be true. Are you getting it? And now let's say this condition, if this condition is not true, we want something else we want to run. Right? We can say else. However, we don't want this something else to just run randomly. We want it to also run if a certain condition is true. Let's say if you can't find Michael and you can't find, sorry, if you can find Michael and David, you can do this, you can log this in the console, right? Let me be using my console. If you can find Michael and David, you can log this in the console, right? However, if you can't find them, you can only find if this is English. If you can do this, if this condition is true, you should do this. Else, which means if this condition is not true, come here, check this one too. And what are we checking? We want to confirm that full name includes Dio. Then we can say console.log full name includes Dio. And if we come back to our console and reload, we can see full name includes Dio. Full name includes Dio. So this is telling us that this first condition is not true, but this second one is true. Are you getting me? So if this first condition is not true, this second one is not true, we want to fall back on something. You can say else console.log all conditions are false. So let me come back here and reload. I'll still have the same thing because it is not coming here yet since this one is true. So let's just say it shouldn't be looking for you, it should be looking for Zion, right? I should come here and reload. You can see all conditions are false because the first condition here is that if you can find Michael and you can find David, you should run this logic here. But if this condition is not true, you can't find Michael and you can't find David. But if you can find Zion, it should be Zion. If you can find Zion, you should run the logic you are saying here, which is to log full name includes Zion in the console. However, if these two conditions are not true, let's say you can't find Michael and David together in the name, right? And you still check the name, you can't find Zion. Then just tell us that all conditions are false, which is what we have in the console over here. I believe I'm communicating with someone. Can everyone still hear me? Just use the emoji if you can hear me. Okay. So that is that about if statement. The second conditional statement we have is the switch case. Is the switch case, and what does switch case does? So we say, let's say, let me comment this out and says, okay, and say switch statement. So how do we do switch statement? Switch statement is if you want to check just a single condition for something, right? Let's say I have a variable of constant color, right? Color, and I want my color to be black. And I want my color to be black. So how do I go about that? How do I use a switch statement here to check which color we have? We can say switch. Once I type switch, my IDE will suggest me I want to do a switch statement. So once I press enter, I'll have this here. And what do I want to check? I want to check for color. So switch case one, what's the first case? We want to check if it is white. And then we want to do what? We want to log to the console. Very good. Let's do something. Let's do something. Let's say constant message is what? No message yet. Right. And then I want to do what? I want to log to my console message. So if I come here and reload, I should see no message yet. Right. So if I have color, I want to check the for values of color. And I want to set the message inside this message variable. So what am I going to do? If it is white, I want to say message is what? Color is white. Color is white. Some moment, please. So color is white. Color is white. Okay, and this break here means that once this condition is true, we should break and not go to the and not check for the next case. Right. So let me come here and okay. My color is not white. So that is why this thing is not running. So let's say I want to come here and say again, case blue. Case blue should be message is what? Color is blue. Again, I'll break this so that it doesn't continue checking. And again, my color is not blue, right? So in my third case, I now say if my color is black. Yes, the message should be color is black, right? And then I want to do what? I want to break again so that it won't continue checking. Again, if I come here, I should have an error. I should have an error. So can someone tell me why we are having an error? Just raise your hand and drop it in the comment section. Why we are having an error? Let me show you the code. Why do you think we are having an error? Why do you think we are getting an error? Are we still connected? All right. So why do you think we are getting an error? Why do you think this logic here will give us an error based on what we've discussed so far in this lesson, in today's lesson?
It's a general question. Okay, Anaya Daniel is raising his hand. Please unmute your mic so you can answer the question.
From my own understanding, we are using consts, which is not supposed to change. So I don't. That's my own. That's what I think. We are using consts as as a variable, like to save this particular color, and it's supposed to be changing.
Okay. So yes, he got it right. We are supposed to use let's say let's over here, because once it is a constant, they can't assign another value to it. Let me change it back to const so everyone can see the error we are having. So you can see it is telling us that assignment to constant variable, which means the variable is a constant and we can't assign any other value to it. So if I change this to let, I'll be able to assign another value, which is to replace the value that is in the as in the variable. So if I come here and reload, you can see my color is black. And then if we do not have, if all these cases are not right, if they are wrong, I can add the default case, which is like the fallback case, and I'll say message will be after checking all, couldn't determine what color is. So if I come here and reload, I should still get this because my color is black. However, if I forget to put my break statement here, let me comment it out. And you can see it is already going through to the default. Why? Because it is supposed to stop here, which means this break statement is very, very important. You have to break your check after you've seen what you are looking for. So that is it about that's that about switch case. We have the if statement. That is that about conditional statement. We have the if statement and we have the switch statement. So the if statement will check if conditions are true, if conditions are true, and then the switch statement will check if we check if the value of a variable or an expression, if the value of your switch object is what you are looking for, right? And it will run the logic you have under it here. So let's go back to our HTML element. Come here, some moments, please.
Yes, I believe we are following. Right now we should be able to declare variable, and now we know the differences between, constant and the regular variable, right? So is there anybody having concerns or issue you're not understanding? Okay. I'm just reminding you that, okay, Aziz read one, please unmute your mic and ask a question or raise a concern.
All right. Good evening. So about the variables, I didn't get that. And what the instructor said. Please, can you recap just a little bit? I know what's said. Thank you.
Okay, about the variable you meant.
Yes, the variable.
Okay, I would love to answer the question, but I would like someone from the class to answer that question since we're all following. to make sure that to confirm that we are getting it right. So can somebody explain the variable part? Can somebody unmute their mic to explain? Okay, yes, unmute your mic and Daniel.
Okay, basically the variable is what we use to store um, value of something, and it can change. But there are some things that we can store that will not change. For example, let's say someone's name, um, or his age. No, someone's name, but something like age can change with time. So when we want to assign a variable that is changing, we have to use the let. But we want to assign something that does not change. We use a const. We use a const. So that's it basically.
Okay, one more person should I saw somebody raising their hands up. Faith, please mute your mic and if you want to add or buttress to what Daniel has said.
Good evening. I do agree with Daniel that a variable is what we use to you assign a value to a variable if you know that okay the value will keep changing. Like he made an example of age. Well, you use constant when you're sure that the value would not change. I think it works the same way with let, that it can change over time, but constants cannot change. That's what I have to say.
Thank you very much, Faith. Any other person want to agree or disagree? Does anybody want to agree or disagree? Or add to or say otherwise? I'm expecting almost everybody to raise up their hand and explain. And there are certain people that has not even spoken at all in this class since we started this session. Please, it's an interactive session. You need to ask questions, please. Okay, while we wait for Ayomide Michael. Okay, oh Ayomide Michael, can you confirm? Are you back on the call? I have Oladile raising her hands up, so unmute your mic.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to ask if there is like a particular way to write a variable. Like, can we just use any kind of alphabet, any kind of character to represent a variable, or he has to like be in a particular way? Like, can I start with a number? Can I name my variable number one, or can I name my variable like capital letter first, or can I use like at to represent my variable?
Okay, thank you for that question. Mr. Ayomide will be in better position to answer the question. I believe that there is a variable naming convention. There are various ways we can use to, name our variables. And I believe Mr. Ayomide will answer the question. So please hold on for a bit. Once he's back on the call, we would answer the question. Thank you very much for that wonderful question. That shows that you are following. So, does anybody have other question or want to buttress or add to what Daniel and Faith has spoken about earlier? Um,
Okay, I think nobody's having any question anymore. That
yes,
person that asked that last question is you. Who is that? Who was that?
that
I
would
think
be Oladile. Oladile.
all right. So that's a very valid question. It's a very good one. So before going to that question, I was able to fix this issue we're having here. And the reason was because I was using this self-closing tag. So let me use it again for you to see. You can see it is loading just the conditional statement of JS. And then if I remove this guy and use the script tag I'm supposed to use, that's the closing tag. Let's create it. Then our script.js is loading too. So let me just bring it to the top. So now let me answer this question. This question. Okay, if it's Basi, you want to ask something, I'll come back to you. But let me just answer this question. Let me just answer this question first. So let me create a new file.
So I don't.
Say,
Okay.
Okay, you don't have a question. That's fine.
No, it's something about what you just did. Where you added the script. So the second one, the slash is okay.
This
It's
one?
corrected. Yeah, the slash was at the end instead of. Okay.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's fine. Sorry.
Okay, so let me add our new HTML, our new JavaScript file, which is, let me just copy these guys and then replace it with variables. Right, and then I come to my variables and say console.log. It's not necessary we add this console.log, it's just for us to know that our JavaScript file is loading as it is supposed to. So let me add variables.js loaded. So I come here and do that. We have already seen that here. So how do we create variables? There are naming conventions like Mr. Samuel mentioned. We are to use text. You can't say constant one. You can't use one. You can't use numbers as your variable name. However, you can use a combination of numbers. Okay. Let's go down. Then variable naming conventions. So rule number one, you can't use number as your variable name. So you can't say constant one is hello world. It is already, even the ID is already giving me the error. So let's come here and reload. You can see unexpected number. It is not expecting you to put a number here, right? It means you can say 1. Are you getting me? You have to type. You have to use text. However, you can use. Let me just change this to name, or let me just change it to text. We can use text, and then we can now add numbers to the end. You can use text and then add numbers as the suffix, right? So this 12 here is my suffix. I can use text and then add number as the suffix, right? I can't put space in my variable name, so I can't say constant full name is IMD. You can see I'm already getting an error here, and it's telling me on the missing initial something. So you can't use texts, and you can't put it in curly braces like this. Sorry, in apostrophes like this. It should be naked, just like this is. So you can say full name, right? So the third one is you can't use space in a variable name. you can't use space in a variable name, right? However, if sorry. All right. However, if your variable name is something that has to do with two words joined together, two combined words, what you can do is to use either camelCase or snakeCase. When the variable name consists of two words, you are to use either snakeCase or camelCase. So just like I wrote it, snakeCase is always having this underscore. It is like a snake. You know how snakes move now, up and down, up and down, up and down. And then or camelCase. So instead of you adding space, instead of you adding this underscore, you just let your next word start with the capital letter, but you won't be using space. So here I can say user profile is let's just say profile. So you can see this is camelCase variable, right? And then I can say constant user profile, which is user profile, which is profile 2, and this is what? This is snakeCase variable. And you have to note that user profile here and user profile here are not the same. Let me do something. Let me just say, let's say profile snake, or let's say snake's profile. Let's say the snake register in our website, snake's profile, and then let's say camel's profile, right? So like I said, user profile and user profile are not the same. They are case sensitive, and when I say case sensitive, if you do user profile here and you are trying to do user profile here, maybe you are trying to get the value of this variable, which is this variable, and you are using user profile here, your browser will tell you that, or your wherever your code is running will tell you that it cannot find user profile. Why? Because the user profile you created was the one with the capital P, not smaller p. So let's do something. Let's just say console.log user profile, and then let me come here. You can see I'm already saying camel's profile. And then if I now change this p to small letter p, you can see user profile is not defined. Why? Because the engine, which is V8, I'm using Chrome, which is V8, doesn't identify any variable with this name. Are you getting me? So let's just change this back to user profile, and then we have camel's profile. Let's add another this thing here and say user underscore profile. So we have snake's profile, right? So that is basically what we need to know on the basic level for naming conventions. So does that answer your question? That's Feintola. Does it answer your question?
Yes, yes, it does. Yes, I'm clear now. Thank you very much.
All right. So one more thing I want us to do is to create a function. And what are functions? Functions are lines, are a block of codes. So let's say functions. Functions.js. Right? And let me comment everything we have here out. The reason I'm commenting them out is I don't want our console here to be having too many things. Right. So in my HTML file, I'll come again and link my functions. right? And then what are functions? Like I said, functions are block of code that you want them to run at the same time. Are you getting me? So let me just show you an example. I want to say function. I want to declare a function. And what will be the name of my function? I'll say do some calculations. So the way you name your functions are the same way you name your variables. You can see here I'm using camelCase. Please, for JavaScript, you should use camelCase as a recommended naming convention for JavaScript. For most of the modern programming languages, you should use camelCase. So I'm using camelCase here. Do some calculations, and yes, this is how to declare a function. And everything you want to happen in this function will be inside this place, inside these curly braces, right? So let's say I have very good. I have constant number one should be okay. Let's just rename this thing and say print user's profile. Print user profile. Yes. So name, we want to say the username. That's the name of the user. Is IMD. I can say the constant age is 104. I can say constant gender is male. I can say nationality. Nationality is what? Nigeria. I should have an error here. Okay. So I forgot to do something here. Console.log functions.js loaded. It's fully loaded. All right, so we have all these details about this user. We want to put everything together in one string, in one text. We can say constant BIO is, say, we have a text here. We have name, let's say user plus. So what I'm doing here is concatenation. Concatenation is a case where you are adding two strings together. You're adding two texts together. I think I'm going too far here. Let's treat concatenation first. Let me just comment this out. We'll still come back to this, but let me just comment it out first and say constant text one should be hello, and then constant text two should be word, right? And then if I say constant greetings should be text one plus text two. So what I'm doing here is concatenation. I'm not sure I'm getting this. All right, so concatenation is adding two strings together. So let me just say console.log greetings. So let me come here and you can see I have hello world, right? So my hello world is looking joined together, and it is actually joined together. I need to add space between them here. So what I'll do is just say put another plus sign here, and between them I'll add space. And you can see my hello world is already having space. I can add another text here and say hello beautiful world. And then you can see again, I need text here, I need space here. I can just add space after this one. And then I have hello beautiful world. So concatenation is the process of adding multiple text or strings together. So let me just come back to this, but let me just comment it out. We'll still come back to this, but let me just comment it out first and say constant text one should be hello, and then I have hello beautiful world. So concatenation is the process of adding multiple text or strings together. So let me just comment it out. We'll still come back to this, but let me just comment it out first and say constant text one should be hello, and then I have hello beautiful world. So Like I said, string is a data type I mentioned the other time. So let me comment out concatenation. Does anyone have any question regarding this before we move to functions? Does anyone have any question? Okay, I guess nobody has any question, so we can proceed. So let me just comment this. Is someone talking?
Yes, I wanted to ask, backticks does the same perform the same function as concatenation, right?
Sorry, can you come again, please?
Using backticks, you can still join text together, right? And we didn't need to like put spaces between them, or like
Backtick.
join variables that are strings. Yes.
I think I've come across that before, but I'm not sure that works like this, right? Am I correct? Are you there?
Yes, I'm with you. No, not that. The backticks sign.
The parties send that's before number one, the figure one rather.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, we can use that. Yes, we can use that. I'll be showing you that shortly.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
Okay, so coming to our function, we can say, let's say constant variable is user something something, user plus name plus of age plus age is a plus gender plus and also a plus nationality, right? Okay, and then we can say console.log PIO. So functions won't run until you trigger them. Functions will not run until you trigger them. So let me comment this out. Functions will not run until you trigger them. So let me just do what? Let me trigger my function by saying print profile. So I'll just call the function name and this is already trying to run. Console is not a function. This is supposed to be console.log, right? And then you can see user Ayomide of age 104 is a male and also in Nigeria, right? And one other way we can do concatenation, just like Rachel was saying, is to use this guy. So constant BIO. This is our guy here. You see this this character before the number one on your keyboard. So once you press it, it will give you these two guys. No, it's not the same with the apostrophe. So we say user name. So let's leave this way. Name of age. So we are letting this guy know that this is a variable. This is also a variable. User name of age. Age is a gender and also a nationality. So let's come back here and we should see we now have the same text we had earlier. Are we connected? Let's change this to to South Africa. And then you can see we still have the same thing we are supposed to have, just the South African change, and that's the nationality, right? And how do we declare a function? By the function keyword, the function name, parentheses, and the curly braces. So your block of code will be inside your curly braces. And then if you want to trigger the function, you call the function like this. Right, so let's do something. Let me comment out this function. Let me just comment out this two. And then let me say function, do some calculations. Do some calculations. How do we do that? Let's say this function should have constant number 1. This works is, let's say, 20. Constant number 2 is what, let's say, 100. And then constant result, let's say results is number 1 times number 2. And then we want to return, this time around, we are not logging to the console. We want to return it back to, okay, let's say whoever is calling this function, after the function is doing what it is supposed to do, return back to the person this value. So we are returning results. I hope I'm communicating with someone. Does anyone have any questions? Is anyone confused? Is anyone lost?
Yes, are we all following? Okay, great. I am the Michael.
Sorry, that was my network. Can everyone hear me? All right. So I've declared my function here, and here I'm calling the function. So if I come here and reload, I can't see anything happening. Why? Because the function is running its calculation and returning me a value. But what am I doing with the value? Nothing. I'm not doing anything. So how do I do something with the value? Can someone suggest how we can do something with this value? To begin with, how can we capture this value? Can someone tell us how we can capture this value? Are we still connected? Okay, let's say we don't want to log into the console yet. I didn't allow the images. Let's assume we don't want to log into the console yet. How do we capture the value? So you said store it in a variable. So yes, we would have to store it in a variable. So how do we store it in a variable? Say constant calculation results calculation result is do something. Again, if I still come here, nothing is happening. The calculation is happening, but we are not doing anything with the value. We are only putting it in a variable. So what can we do? We can say console.log calculation results, and then I come here and say you can see my calculation is already showing here, which means my function is doing something and returning me the value, the result of whatever the function is doing. Now I have the results captured here. I cannot do what? I cannot log it in my console. So let me reload again. I have 2000. Does everyone understand me? I want to be sure we are all on the same page. All right, good. So let's now assume that these guys, this number 1 and number 2, we don't want it to be 20, we don't want it to be 100. We don't even, this function doesn't even know what they are. So how do we go about that? We say, okay, this function, whenever they want to call you, they have to pass you 2 values. It is these 2 values that we'll be working with, right? It's like you want to send someone on an errand, you give them the money to buy what they want to buy for you. So the money is like the argument or the parameter. It is what they will need to be able to give you the result you want. I hope I'm communicating with someone. So how do we do that? How do we make sure that we send the value we want to calculate to this function instead of the one we had coded in here? What we do is that we say inside these curly braces, inside these parentheses, we have number 1. We should receive number 1 and number 2. Are you getting me? And what I can do what I can remove. Let me just comment it out. So whenever I comment something out, it means that thing is not part of my code. It is not running. It is just there for whoever is saying the code to see that okay, this was here, but it is not running. So let me comment this out, and it is receiving number 1 and number 2. So let me reload this. I should have an error. It is giving me none. Why? Because I didn't add the value I wanted to calculate. I hope I'm communicating. So how do we go about that? We say our number 1 is 50, and then our number 2 is 10. So if I come here, I should have 500. Yes, because it is calculating number 1 times number 2. So it is receiving number 1 and number 2 and performing this this calculation and then returning back the results. An additional value we can use to test is 14 and let's say 15. So 14 times 15 should give us 210. So this will bring us to the end of today's lesson. This is 9:06 already. I believe we are all able to get 1 or 2 things, and we are moving gradually. Okay, Sheyi, you said the function was never called. We are calling the function here on this line 42. We are calling the function here. So does anyone have any question? Any question on what we've done so far? Something you don't understand, something you want me to iterate on again? Something that looks confusing? So does that mean we all understand what I've been saying? Okay, Daniel, you are raising your hand. You want to say something?
Please, my question is for the Spring. Is there any special difference between the single quotes and the double quotes?
There is no difference. You can use the single. You can use the single quotes. You can use the single quotes. You can use the single, let me use it here. You can use, let's slow down. Okay, commented the sites. I'm gonna comment the sites. So back to this place. Okay, let me call the function. Back to this place, we have this text. So if I come here, I'm already using double quotes here. If I change this to a single quote, it should still work. To still be identified as a string. Can you see it is still working? And this single quote is different from this one. Let me zoom in. This single quote, this one, is different from this one. You can see this one is a little bit slant. So this one is the one you see beside your one. That's the Q1 on your keyboard. And then this one is the one you see beside the shift. Somewhere around the shift on your left, on the right side of your keyboard. Does that explain your question? Does it answer your question?
Yes.
All right. So is there anyone else that has a question for me? Is there something you want me to explain again? All right. Okay, you can proceed.
Please, in that function that we declared, is it not possible to log in a function, or is return the only way of getting something, like getting a value from the function? Is it
Yes,
possible to add a console.log in the function?
yes, you can log
Just
from
to
it.
count.
You can log from a function, just like we did here. If you can remember,
Okay.
we did log in this function. So let me comment it out. Let me comment it out, and then let me just do console.log results here. So it means we won't be returning results again. Let me comment this out, and then I won't be receiving a value that I need to save anywhere, and I'll still remove this console.log. So just what we have here is run the calculation and log it in the console, and then we'll be passing the value for the calculations, the parameters for the calculation. So if I come again, I can see I still have my 210. Let me take this to 20. So there is something around 280. Yes. Is that clear? All right. So okay.
Please, sorry. With what he said, but it's only when we use the return statement that we can get values from our function to use, apart from console.log, which really is nothing. It's just for to help the developer. But like in development, when we are trying to, maybe usefully use the function, we have to use the return, right? We need the return statement.
Yes, most times when you are running a function, you want to return something from the function because console.log is just to log it on the browser, just for viewing sake. But if you actually need the value of that function, you'll have to return it, or you want to save it to your database. But most likely, you want to return it and do something with the value, right? Apart from logging to the console.
All right, thank you for the clarification.
Okay, so in our last class, Shay, you want to ask something?
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to ask, is it possible for a function to return nothing, like there's no value in front or anything?
Yes, a function can return null. A function can return null, and it can be void. So if it is a void function, it means it will do whatever I want to do, just like this one now. It is doing whatever it needs to do without returning anything. So that means it is a void function. However, it can also return null. Means okay, you want me to return a value, but I can't see that value, and then it will return null. It can also return undefined.
Okay, like without undefined, can it just be returned?
Yes, yes, yes.
And if I log this return, what will it give me?
Nothing. Should give you nothing or undefined. Let's do that. Let's do that. So I don't want to put it in a variable. You just say console.log do something. So you can see it is still undefined. Because yes, it is not defined.
All right,
Do
thank
you,
you.
you understand
Yeah,
that?
yes.
All right. So in our last class, we did Git and GitHub, right? And so to this lesson, we just add it. It is a continuation of what we had last time. If you notice now, my ID is already tracking the changes I made. You can see this one is a modification. This M is modification. This U is on track, and yes. So what do? I want you guys to be able to access it. This is our repository. What do I do is to come to my terminal. My terminal. So I should see my terminal here. Yes. So this is the terminal. Let me clear everything here. So what do? I'll add my changes, which is git dots. If I want to add just one file, I'll add the file name, maybe index.html. But this time around, I want to add all the changes I've made. So I'll just put dot and press enter. Right. So all the changes I made have been added, have been tracked. So I want to commit them to my local repository. So what do? I'll say git commit introduction to JavaScript. So the commit, this is a commit message. Git commit, and this dash M means we want to add our commit message. So introduction to JavaScript. Right? You can see I have create mode. I created a new file, created a new file, created a new file, created a new file, and so on. Right? And again, it has been added to my local repository. It is not on GitHub yet. You can see I'm reloading, and it is still giving me what has been there 4 days ago. So how do I make sure what I have here is the same thing I have? And someone just tell me that from what you learned in our last class, in our previous lesson. All right, so I'll remind us again this evening. So after committing my changes. Okay. So tell me, Shay, I thought you wanted to say something. Okay, Daniel, you can proceed. No, Daniel, don't proceed. You really want talking things very well. So, Shay, you can proceed. Oh, she left already. Then Daniel, you can proceed. Mr. Daniel.
Okay. We'll use git push.
Yes, we'll use git push. Git push. Okay, we use git push, and where are we pushing to? To our origin. So watch branch, we are pushing to the main branch. So our local changes have been updated to our repository, our origin repository has been updated with the changes we made. So if I reload, I should be able to see those changes. And this is the README file I added. You can see it's showing here already. Right, this thing is our title. And then if I come here, you can see the JavaScript folder we created, the CSS folder we created. If I click on this commit message, which is introduction to JavaScript, to show you the changes we made. We created this new file. These are the things we added. We removed these things from index.html. You can see it is already showing you the ones we removed and the ones we added. The ones we removed and the ones we added. So these ones, I think they are formatting issues. I think I did a formatting command like that. And then we added this JavaScript file. We added this function.js, script.js. We added variables.js. We added readme.md. Yes, and that is all we did this evening. So that will be all for today's lesson. I believe everyone will be able to come up with something before our next class. I'll send our assessments to Mr. Samuel, or I can as well send it to the Slack channel myself. Does anyone have any question so far?
Thank you very much, IBD, for that beautiful session. In fact, I would say I learned a lot today. I don't know about you people in class, but I learned a lot. So now I can, yes, keep that comment.